collision results in client having injured back and neck, needs to use her own insurance as well as liability to get fully compensated. Hi, I'm Shane Smith from Shane Smith Law. I'm here today to talk to Darrion Holloway, one of our attorneys here at Shane Smith Law, about one of his recently settled cases and client victories, LB's case. So Darrion, tell me about LB's case. What happened?
Yeah, so LB was driving down, going to the grocery store, and she was T-boned by an adverse driver who blew through an intersection, T-bone on the driver's side, pretty serious injury, no fault of her own, and thankfully she called us to get her represented.
It sounds, so if they T-boned her here on the driver's side, it sounds like property damage was pretty severe in the case. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Property damage was upwards of about $7,000 or $8,000 to her vehicle. She was able to get that taken care of. Fortunately, she wasn't hurt more seriously, but she definitely had some injuries she had to take care of.
And what were her injuries?
Yeah, so she had immediate lower back and neck pain. A couple of days later, she noticed she had some shoulder pain. She dealt with it over a period of about 8 to 9 months with treating. She had to go see a chiropractor. We got her in with an orthopedic who treated her lower back injuries and the shoulder injuries. It turns out that she needed some trigger point injections to kind of resolve the pain. Thankfully for her and for us, that kind of resolved the pain, and she's feeling much better. Okay,
great. How did the insurance company handle this? Was it a long fight to get a settlement in the case?
Yeah, it was about a little over a year, actually. Initially, the liability was never an issue. Initially, we kind of fought over damages and injuries and rightful compensation. Eventually, we were able to, keep going back to the insurance company, and especially on the liability side, we were eventually able to get the full policy limits on the liability side after some back and forth.
That's wonderful. And after we got liability, was there anything else we could do on this particular case?
Yep. Fortunately enough, our client had underinsured policy through her insurance company. We were able to file a similar claim through underinsured, essentially laying out the fact that her medical bills were a little high and that she needed more money for pain and suffering and kind of rightful compensation. We went back and forth with the underinsured company for a little bit. They were able to pay a good bit of money to help our client out.
Sometimes people think underinsured, since they're dealing with their own insurance company, it's going to be easy and there's not going to be any fight. They're going to just pay. Is that what happened here, or do you have to fight those guys too?
Unfortunately, insurance companies kind of make you fight, kind of make you earn it. We definitely had to go a couple rounds with negotiating and pretty much laying out the fact that our client was actually injured and she was still suffering from a lot of pain. And unfortunately, the liability limits weren't enough to cover her injuries, her lost wages, much less her pain and suffering. So once we got all that laid out, they came around and we were able to negotiate a fair claim for our client.
How did LB feel about the whole settlement?
She was ecstatic. Unfortunately, she was in a process of moving from North Carolina to Georgia and starting a new job. So this couldn't have happened at a worse time. But fortunately enough, we were able to give her, the compensation she deserved. And she was happy that we stood up to the insurance company. She obviously didn't think she could do it herself, obviously, with the transition of the job and moving from state to state. But we're just happy that we could step in for her and kind of be her voice.
Great. Is there anything you learned from this particular case you could use to help some of your future clients?
Yeah, just staying persistent with the insurance companies. It's never going to be easy the first time. They're never going to lay down on the first call. But just being persistent with their insurance, both liability and underinsured, and just kind of letting our clients know ahead of time that underinsured policy, although it's your policy, it's still an insurance company at the end of the day. It's still a big corporation, and sometimes they're not as easy as to work with as we might think they are. It's kind of giving them that heads up early on that their insurance company is yours, but sometimes it's not as easy as we may think it is. And definitely, one question we always get is, so if we go through our client's insurance company when we have underinsured policies, does it raise their premiums? Does it something they have to pay? And just letting our clients know that's what they pay for every month. It's not going to have an effect on your premiums. It's not your fault that you were in an accident. This is exactly what you pay for each and every month. And just having them understand that pretty early on is something that I think I would relay to my clients going ahead of time.
Well, great. Good deal. Well, Darrion, it sounds like a great client victory. It sounds like LB was really happy and a great result overall. So good work. To our listeners, thanks for listening. Remember, if you're in pain, call Shane, 980-999-9999. Hit like and subscribe down below so you can see our next client victory from Shane Smith Law.
In pain, call Shane.
980-999-9999. 980-999-9999. Shane Smith Law. In pain, call Shane.